Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be going over all the industrial stuff. Here's all the industrial stuff. Got the industrial chest, industrial stone cutter, industrial oven, industrial smelter, industrial washing station, and industrial sawmill. Each does its own thing. Some are good, some are bad, and some are could use a better change. Well, industrial chest, pretty much used in anything with if you want to collect storage, except the one downside is to an industrial chest is that it only holds 40 items total, while the medium chest that you use to craft it holds each slot holds 30, which means you're sacrificing 25 per slot, which is an extreme amount of loss for an industrial chest. But without it, you can't really hold items, so fair enough. Now, the industrial stone cutter is one of those things that it requires a buff key, not buff, buffalo crystal. Yeah. Here's the industrial chest. You need a medium chest, conveyor belts, and iron. Now, to make a industrial stone cutter, you'll need one of these things. Not kinda difficult to get, but stone cutter. It's one of those things that are you actually going to use the stone bricks or what kind of thing? Other than that, it exists. Industrial oven. One of those things that I've seen people like sell overpriced like this this is not hard at all to craft. This isn't hard in the slightest. Not at all. It's quite easy to actually get one of these things, and people sell them overpriced, which is one of those things. Now, industrial smelter, probably one of the most thought out after things, since you can smelt iron and bricks with them, which is also expensive, but not as expensive as the industrial washer, which requires a propeller. Next thing we'll go over is the industrial washer. It automatically washes crops, though in a smaller farm setting it could handle your crops better, but all these excess crops, yeah, could not handle this onion farm. Look how extreme it is. This is where the manual one comes in. Like, it comes in to be useful. Yeah, this thing, the industrial washer cannot keep up with a large, massive farm like that, which honestly makes no sense why the manual one is faster than the industrial one. Like, you, here's your manual washer. You press these buttons till like 10. It's like a crafting thing, and then you just start crafting it into normal onions. Like, it's not like it's it's very weird, and it's like I'm not sure what. It's not like you just something like one of these sort of things, or a furnace, or this. You just place items in and wait a time as this quickly fills up with onions. Yeah, so it's like it's weird how the manual industrial washer, well, manual washer works. Now the industrial sawmill, it exists. for the purpose of cutting wood. I have 3 of them. There's just 2 of them sitting here. Of course, I've nicked the industrial chests that were attached to this to be used for things. Now, the only issues I have with the industrial sawmill, is if you take it, you basically put it here, you fill it up with your wood source. Keep in mind, this is why it's like, it just shoves out a bunch of wood at once. And it's just like, oh, you want to put like 8 logs in here and expect those 8 logs, uh, hold up, those 8 logs to actually, like, they'll start piling up and despawn due to the fact of all that's going on over there. And it just spits out a bunch of items. And for my use of it, like from over here, we're using both of these at the same time, doing placing wood in here, coal, placing wood in here, coal, like that. Instead of with a chest, it's like I've had logs despawn in. And the wood plank sometimes just falls off the conveyor as it makes its way to the industrial chest, making this probably the worst industrial item for that reason. As I have to continue dealing with those. Anyway, the next one we'll be going over is the industrial oven. Probably the worst one that's people use to scam people, thinking it's something rare when it's actually not expensive at all to make. You take your first, you put in a fuel source, like so, and then zip pretty much like that, and your thing fills up with thing, and then hello, thank you for demonstrating why it can fall off the conveyor. Now we're gonna fill it with the batter, if I could ever seem to find it. There it is. We're just gonna do perfect. We're gonna fill it up with like 10 batter as it does that. Will there be 10 cakes in there, or probably not if there's no fuel? That probably helps if there's fuel. Okay, 10 cakes. Maybe. What? Okay then. I think the lag from this thing is causing things to indirectly duplicate. Now, the industrial washer. The thing that's probably the most expensive to buy off of people because of the propeller. Is it good? Is it bad? It's really up to you. So we just fill this thing with a bunch of coal. Just throw in 3 industrial onions. Not industrial onions, oily onions. Good grief. And 3 onions come out that are clean. And then we just fill this thing with 20 onions. And to make its way into it. As they pile up over here, and one falls off the conveyor. Because, and they're falling off the conveyor. Fantastic! This could use a buff, even though it already got one, but it could use another one. Yeah, three of them fell off the conveyor onto the ground, and that's the industrial washer. The only reason I'm not using it because this farm over here is way too extreme for it. Like I've mentioned previously, I think. I mean, this doing it manually is still faster for many reasons of the fact that the time it takes the industrial washer to wash 3 onions, I could have washed 50 from this thing. But that's the industrial washer for you. Next is the industrial stone cutter, which for some reason is the only industrial thing that has one hit point of hit with a pickaxe because reasons. You you throw in your stone and you put in your coal and then out comes stone. And if you're using stone bricks, then this is a good thing for you. And out here comes your stone bricks. Of course, this is originally where my stone cutter was because it's stone totems. But we're just gonna fill this thing with like 20 stone. Send in our stone into the actual thing. Yes. Unlike other things, the stone just sits here and not roll around. May get your stone bricks. This is one of those industrial things that if you have, just sitting in the background and occasionally collecting it, you get quite a bit of stone. Of course, this is also one of those things that only has one coal slot for some reason. Like, was it the sawmill? Yeah, like the sawmill or the. I think it was just a sawmill that's like that for some reason. Why? I honestly don't know. All the other ones have three, but the sawmill and the stone cutter only has one. And it appears that this got stuck. Okay. Probably lag. And more onions that are lagging this game. Now, a better way to probably deal with it is like have makes onions not just loose on the conveyor, but be kind of like assigned to a certain the middle part of the conveyor where they just where it is a physical model itself that slowly moves along the conveyor like an animation. Now now time for the final industrial thing. Even though we're just constantly displaying this chest. Okay, where is it? Yeah, I have a few smelters. Now the industrial smelter. I'm not smelting gold, so we're just gonna fill this thing with coal and then throw in our ore. Yeah, this is this is probably the best. And this is the best industrial smelter because it just spits out everything. We're just gonna throw in like a few ore. Like it just spits out. It just spits out ore. This one being the best. Now, will there be other industrial things in the future? Yeah, there probably will be. And is that the final one? Okay, that is the final one. Okay. That's the industrial smelter. Now, let's go over each one again from worst to best. The worst one being the sawmill. Just for the sake just the fact that it's like one log comes in and then out comes 4 blocks right after the log is finished, and sometimes those blocks fall off and might even despawn, which is kind of infuriating, which makes this the worst one because of that. If that was fixed, then this one would be higher tier. Next one would be industrial oven, mainly because it's low on on the worst list, mainly because scammers using it, making it seem like it's something that's hard to get, but in reality, it's quite easy to obtain. Next one, industrial washer. Now it cleans crops on smaller scales, but the manual counterpart is still significantly better and is quite cheaper. Like actually, that's quite expensive. But regardless, though, it's still much easier just to get a washing station than an industrial washing station. Next one would be the stone cutter. It's just in the middle of good and bad. It's one of those things like, do you want it or do you not? Like, it uses a buff crystal, which you could also use to make one of these with, but industrial stone cutter is one of those things that's like, it exists. Are you gonna make bricks or not? Kind of thing. And the industrial chest is at second slot because it's pretty much used all the time. And without it, you pretty much have to constantly press a singular key to pick up all these onions that are all over the place and on the ground, which is kind of annoying. So that's right. And the best one is the smelter. And you can make both bricks and iron with it. It's also not something easy to get. Unless your friend somehow has has a lot of them and gives you some. Then otherwise it's easy to get. But otherwise, not really the thing. Okay, now we're just gonna get on to ones that I think you should avoid and which ones you should craft. Now, ones that you definitely we're from this list. We're only focusing on these 5 industrial things. The industrial chest is going to be used regardless for these, so it's there. Now, stone cutter. Should you craft a stone cutter? If you're using stone bricks, by all means, get one. If not, then not really. If you plan on making something with stone bricks, then you can craft it. Industrial oven. The industrial oven is something that's really easy to craft, and if you don't have like 1,000 or so, if you're not trying to cook like 1,000 something things, like I have over almost 1,000 batter here, then yeah, craft it. But otherwise, stick with the just manually cook that because it's significantly faster than this industrial one. Industrial smelter, by all means, get it as if you can, but don't get it but don't try and get one that's overpriced. Like a decent price range would be between 200 to 500,000, but 500,000 might be too expensive, so it's still a pretty good, decent thing. Industrial washer. I've seen this thing for sale at 1.5 million. Not the cheapest thing to buy, and at that price, it's kind of like one of those things that's just better to grind for it yourself, the propeller to craft it. And this lag from these onions over here is really annoying. Let me just quickly just do that, and let me just. Okay, now back to the industrial washer. Now, now, pretty much it's one of those things that you, if you have a small farm that can handle it, then by all means use it. But otherwise, you have one centered conveyor going into one industrial chest, collected up the onions, and then using this thing at 10 crafting and crafting up these things. Now, industrial sawmill. No. No, not really. This thing is bad. Unless that issue is fixed where the wood in the back doesn't spit out 4 blocks of wood, or if you have 3 logs in there spitting out 12 blocks and some falling off, then this is not a very good thing. So yeah, so stay away from it. This is the worst. This is just bad in general. So yeah, that's all the industrial stuff. From going from worst to best, we have the worst being in the sawmill. The next is the industrial oven and the industrial washing station. Though between the two, they're more on the same par as me not really liking either. Industrial stone cutter. Next is the industrial chest, and the best being industrial smelter. That's that's pretty much them being good. Now that's pretty much it. So goodbye.